At my son's wedding, he shouted, "Leave! She doesn't want you here!" I walked out without a word, tears slipping down my cheeks. The next morning he called, syrupy soft. "Mom, can I get the lake house keys? We want a honeymoon there." I handed them over with a smile. When they turned on the TV in the master suite, every channel played a certain video of his blushing bride. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're tuning in from. I'm Eleanor Hart, 67. Apparently the most unwelcome mother-in-law in Maplebridge, Connecticut. But let me rewind and explain how I got my perfect revenge on the woman who swindled my son and on the son who broke my heart. For 3 months, I'd helped plan everything: flowers, music, canapes, even a navy dress that matched Lila's palette. The moment I stepped into the reception hall, her voice sliced through the chatter. "Why is she here?" Lila stood in her $5,000 gown, pointing as if I'd crept in through the kitchen door. My son, Daniel, the boy I raised alone after his father died, faltered. "I invited her," he said. "She's my mother." "Your mother?" Lila laughed, a thin, brittle sound. "The woman who tried to sabotage our engagement? The one who hopes we've discussed our financial expectations?" I hadn't called her a gold digger, though the thought had crossed my mind. I simply asked the question any practical person would ask. "Get out," Daniel snapped then, champagne pink and furious. "She doesn't want you here. Neither do I." 200 faces turned toward me. I left without fuss, sat in my car, and watched through the windows as the party danced on. Grief hardened into something sharper. The next day, Daniel called, voice honeyed. Lila was stressed. I overreacted. You know weddings. "Of course," I said. "These things happen." He asked for the keys to my late husband's lakeside estate, a $4 million heirloom Daniel assumed would someday be his. I'd had a top-tier security system installed months earlier. "Of course, darling," I told him, dropping the keys into his palm. He and Lila sped off in his BMW laughing. I went inside and used the smart home controls to queue up a video on the media server. Not a how-to, nothing technical, just a button and a file I'd saved for the right moment. Because 3 months earlier, I'd learned who Lila Nguyen truly was. It started with a phone call. "Mrs. Hart, this is Detective Colin Reyes with the Hartford PD. We're investigating a fraud case, and your future daughter-in-law's previous name surfaced." My stomach turned. "Previous name?" "Ava Morales," he said. "Credit card fraud, identity theft, a legal name change 18 months ago, right around when she met Daniel at the tennis club. They'd tried to warn Daniel. He refused to hear it." I hired my own investigator, Carmen Vega. In a week, she laid out photos and documents across my coffee table. "Ava was married twice," Carmen said. "Wealthy, older men. Both ended in divorce with lavish settlements, then accidents. A real estate magnate in Florida. Heart attack shortly after the divorce. Autopsy with suspicious levels of digitalis, no charges. A tech executive in California. Fatal fall down a staircase. The insurance payout contested for years. Between marriages, Ava vanished. Resurfaced with a new story, new wardrobe, new prey. Carmen also recovered a video from an old cloud account Ava thought she'd erased. Ava Lila wasn't alone in it, and she bragged about how easy Daniel would be to clean out. I tried one last time to warn my son. "Have you and Lila talked long-term finances?" I asked gently. He rolled his eyes. She told him about a name change to escape an abusive ex. She had no family, he said, just a tragic past. According to Carmen, both parents were alive and living quietly in Phoenix. Daniel refused to see it. "If you can't be civil," he said, "maybe don't come to the wedding." 2 days before the ceremony, Lila invited me to lunch. She cooed about family, all while wearing a bracelet I knew Daniel couldn't afford. Then, kindly as a knife, she suggested Daniel should keep financial confidences between spouses. The move to isolate him had begun. "Do you love my son?" I asked. Her smile wavered. "Of course." "I don't know Ava Morales at all," I said. The name hit like a slap, color drained from her face. I showed her a single still from Carmen's video. Nothing salacious, just undeniable. "Delete doesn't mean gone," I said. She asked what I wanted. "For you to be a good wife," I answered. "Hurt him and I end you." She left with a tremor in her hands. They came home from the lake house after 2 days, white-faced. Daniel stormed into my living room. "The video, Mom, playing on every screen." I feigned shock, then stepped aside. "If there's something to tell Daniel, now would be the time," I said to Lila. "It's all lies," she sobbed. "Fake documents, a fake video." Daniel opened the folder I handed him. Marriage certificates, divorce decrees, police reports, clipped articles about accidents. "Why does this say your name is Ava?" he asked. "And why did 2 men die after divorcing you?" She tried to spin it abuse, misunderstanding, guilt settlements. But the more Daniel read, the more the mask slipped. When he mentioned the video, her voice in it, mocking him, she went very still. "You want the truth?" she said, flat now. "I researched you. I joined the club to meet you. You wanted a beautiful wife to parade at the country club. You proposed in 2 months because you needed to prove something to your father's ghost. We used each other. I'm just honest about it." "Did you love me?" Daniel asked. "I loved the life," she said. "Not you." He told her to leave. She reminded him the estate was still mine, not his. She hinted at the lack of a prenup. He looked at me, finally asking, "Mom, what do I do?" For the first time in months, he wanted my help. "Call your lawyer," I said. "Freeze joint accounts, change passwords." Lila insisted I couldn't prove anything. "Watch me," I said. Her attorney, a shark named Hadley Stone, rang me days later, threatening lawsuits for illegal hacking. I suggested he review his client's history. When he claimed Lila was entitled to half of Daniel's inheritance, I mentioned the family trust my husband created when Daniel was 16, explicitly excluding spouses of fewer than 2 years. "We'll need documentation," he muttered. "You'll have it," I replied. 2 days later, Lila knocked on my door alone, desperate. "You win," she said. "Give me something $2 million and I'll disappear. Quiet divorce, no headlines." She was right that a circus would smear Daniel's name alongside hers. "I have a counter," I said. "Nothing. You sign the divorce, waive claims, accept responsibility for the breakdown, and go." "Why would I?" I placed another folder on the table. Carmen had uncovered neighbor footage from the night the California ex-husband died. Lila leaving at 11:47 p.m., returning at 1:23 a.m. for 4 minutes during the coroner's window of death. Not enough to convict, perhaps, but enough to reopen. And once opened, other doors have a way of swinging wide. "What do you want me to sign?" she whispered. "A statement admitting fraud, marrying under false pretenses, lying about identity and motives. Nothing about the deaths." She understood the message. She signed that afternoon, filed the no-fault paperwork within a week, and vanished from Connecticut within a month. Daniel never learned about the statement or the video's origins. As far as he knew, his first wife simply left rather than lose. He hurt. He drank. He called her at 2 a.m. until the number died. Then, slowly, he healed. One afternoon, he said, "Mom, I threw you out of my wedding." "You were in love," I said. "People do foolish things." He squeezed my hand. "You saved me." Months later, he met Nora, pediatric nurse, warm family, messy honesty. "I had Carmen check," he confessed sheepishly. "Nora Jane Whitaker. No ex-husbands, no criminal record. Biggest sin, a parking ticket." "Suspicious," I said, smiling. "She sounds wonderfully ordinary." A year later, he proposed in my garden by the rose bushes his father planted. The ceremony was small and gentle. Nora's father shook my hand before walking her down the aisle. "Thank you for raising a good man," he said. During his toast, Daniel looked at me. "To my mother," he said, voice thick, "for protecting me when I didn't deserve it." That night, I thought of Ava wherever she is, whatever name she wears. I hoped she'd found something other than ruin to chase. Mostly, I thought about what I'd become. A woman who learned to be sharp when tenderness failed. I hired investigators. I set traps. I forced a confession with pressure I'm not proud of. A year earlier, I would have flinched at that version of myself. Now, watching Daniel sway with a woman who truly loved him, I felt only peace. The next morning, Nora brought me coffee in bed. "Thank you for the most beautiful wedding," she whispered. "I feel lucky to be part of this family." Downstairs, bacon sizzled. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. I saw the announcement. The text read, "Congrats to Daniel and his new wife. May they be happy. I deleted it. Some chapters stay closed. If you remember anything from this, remember this. Never underestimate a mother protecting her child. We look gentle until we're not. And if you're a predator eyeing someone's family, think again. Somewhere out there is a mother like me, and we're always watching.